Welcome to Burn the Ship. This is the podcast where we connect entrepreneurs with professionals that can help you go all in on your business. We talk to people that have walked the walk, talked the talk, been through all the things that we experience as small business owners, and come out the other side willing to share some of that stuff with us so that we can apply it to our own business and run our businesses more effectively. Thank you very much for being here, sharing some time with me, sharing some time with the audience. All those things are very, very kind of you. So I appreciate that. Tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much, Casey Cittadino. I've had a relatively interesting journey, but if I rewind the clock a little bit, my entire career has been working for small startup-esque organizations. I am currently the Chief Revenue Officer for a emerging environmental technology where we have several patents for protecting earthen embankments and improving water quality. And I also have another business and passion project where I partnered with a sports psychologist, and we built a digital assessment that helps athletes understand how they think while competing in sports. Obviously, you can hear there is a vast difference in both of those businesses, and both of those pathways are also different. But I definitely love building businesses, and I love jumping in and being able to try and take something into a marketplace, and figuring out, how you can get in front of the right customers and audiences, and which rooms you need to be in, and where you need to network, and ultimately how you need to be able to transition from an idea or a product to actually closing deals or revenue, and turning it into actual business.
Sure. So tell me a little bit of a story. Tell me a little bit about the jerseys hanging on there in the wall back there. A little bit of your past life, and then tell me kind of what sparked your interest in trying. Like, where did you kind of see the disconnect in the market?
I was a college lacrosse player. I played at Towson University, and then after my college career was coming to an end, at the then time assistant coach said, "Hey, I'm going to put your name into the MLL draft." And at the time, I didn't really even know what that meant. I wound up getting drafted to play professionally, and I had I was called a 10-year career playing lacrosse. But while that was happening, because of the world of lacrosse, I had to work the entire time. So I quasi lived this dual role where I was a professional lacrosse player on the weekends, and then I would work 9 to 5 in several different companies over the years. And so I always had this way of switching hats. But as I got older and my lacrosse career ended, I realized a lot of it was the same thing. A lot of it was the work ethic, the hustle, the camaraderie of like building a team, and the trust in certain people who have certain skill sets, and the ability to really communicate and understand what you're good at versus what you're not good at, and surrounding yourself with other people in an organization that can really help you build a business.
Sure. So I can relate a lot to that. My pretty much my entire organization is ex-college athletes, which lends them to having some traits that, one, help us communicate really, really effectively with one another. A lot of us
Yeah.
don't need our kid gloves to tell you good news or bad news. Honestly, we
Right.
communicate very directly and frankly and honestly with one another, which I really, really appreciate. And then the idea of applying a process to a problem, I've always thought was a really, really easy starting point for people in whatever capacity, especially if they've been an athlete and are going into a sales role. But you kind of teach someone a process, and you teach them kind of what can be variable in this process and what always stays true, and how that kind of leads to results. And I think a lot of people are used to following a structure when you come from an athletic background. And where we connected first was kind of talking about the consulting with businesses from a taking this like kind of an idea stage to making it something very, very real, which I think is really the essence of what competing in sports is about, right? You have all of this time for preparation. You're building a game plan, you're building a team, you're building some gel and some community with one another, and then you're making those things into opportunities to compete and opportunities to win. So the question that I have for you is, and especially if you want to put this in terms of what you're working on right now with kind of both of the two things that you told us about at the beginning, is what has kind of been that superpower for you, or that thing that you have realized with working with so many different people that things do well? And the flip side of that coin, which is like, what are things that you have helped people realize that have been obstacles for them and you've helped them overcome it that are in the business world?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I think for me, one of the things that I've always been really good at is a being able to understand a product or a service and dive in and ultimately understand the needs of the customer. But even more so than that, and putting the consulting hat and understanding their needs is the willingness to get out of my own comfort zone and to go out and network and to reach out to strangers in an industry, to get a meeting, to hop on a plane, to fly across the country, to sit with that person for an hour or a day, to cultivate a relationship, to ultimately, try and drive a business opportunity. And to do that, it takes a special type of dedication. And as you do it once and twice and for a year and then 10 years and 15 years, you realize you're willing to do certain things that other people are not. And I'm willing to go, network and stay late at dinners and up in the morning and all the things that shape me as an athlete that still drive me in the world of business. Is if I have a late night, I'm still in the gym in the morning and have the right mindset to go out and support my day and have success. And as the career has evolved, I realized that I'm actually not great at creating specific processes to follow. I'm really good at going out and cultivating opportunities and closing deals, but I'm not great at replicating process. And so my current team here is really great at helping take what I'm doing and codify and turn it into a legit process that we can then train other people on and help scale. And so we have things like success matrices and things that like, we can prove that if you do these things over the course of a day, a week, a month, a quarter, a year, there's going to be X amount of opportunities in your pipeline. You're going to close X amount of deals and you're going to earn X amount of commissions. And so it's been taking that process and now replicating it out and training someone so they can go have the same type of success in their own markets.
And the flip side of that, I think that what you're saying when you're talking about kind of your intangibles, right? Like the things that were just natural to you based on your own skills and experiences, and being able to kind of apply those to other people. And I can relate to like the getting lost in the language, right? Like it's kind of hard to explain the things that come so naturally to someone to other people and how they can replicate those things. But
Yeah.
what has been where you see the biggest kind of void for a lot of these companies? I know we talked about kind of taking this idea and turning it into something real, turning it into revenue, turning it into clients, putting some pressure on the process so that we can test what is working, what is not. Where is it that you find people kind of get stopped in that process? What is the thing that is holding people back from kind of doing that next thing that you're able to come in and consult with them about, that allows them to kind of push themselves over to that next thing?
Well, listen, every business has their own strengths and weaknesses, and it's really difficult to tell someone what they're doing right or wrong without doing a deeper dive in the business. But I can tell you, in a world that is overly driven by technology and overly driven by things in social and there is I believe there is going to be a step back, and the people who can possess the soft skills, who can sit and have a conversation with a real person or a real business around a conference room and talk about, the logistics, the pros and cons about someone's business in an honest way. Those two people can really meet and figure out a way if there's an opportunity to do business together and it's going to be a successful relationship combined, or is it going to be one-sided or not. And oftentimes someone has a problem and someone can solve the problem and there's a need for it, but oftentimes in our world you're not the only option in the marketplace, and it does come down to the relationships and the value you can bring to that relationship and vice versa. So I think the soft skills at some point is going to come back around full circle for people in the business world, because we're so overly, hit with technology and email and everything else.
Yeah, and I think we're reliant on it almost to a fault, right? I think that so many businesses falter when they kind of see some level of success and then they try to apply technology to what they did well to be able to replicate that stuff. And I think a lot more than what people realize is that started with some form of genuine human to human interaction. And I think that you're absolutely right. And I think it doesn't necessarily matter what you sell, right? I think it kind of transcends your industry that people still buy from people for the most part. I mean, I guess people buy from brands as well or something that they believe in, but that's backed by the people that do their job well and correctly and position their product in the market and try to understand exactly what value they're bringing to people that want to buy stuff from them. So I couldn't agree more, especially as someone that's in a technology business. We have to implement some sort of technology into every person
Yeah.
that becomes our client. I still have to tell people like, hey, if something isn't working or something isn't up to your expectation, like you have to call me. I can't read your mind. We have to talk. We have to figure these things out. And I think that, it happens in both directions. Like people kind of quitting on the technology because they can't get what they want, or people not even, bridging into trying to find some things that work for them because they're scared of changing those things. And do you feel, I wanted to ask you this, do you feel that you kind of have some benefit or there's some benefit to you to kind of being on the outside looking in? You're not so inundated and familiar with the day-to-day process and the intricacies of everyone's personality. Do you think that having someone from the outside looking in is a valuable kind of audit for people that are trying to figure out what their strengths and weaknesses are?
I think if you're a business owner in this day and age and you're not willing to have someone come in, a consultant, and do an audit, and you're not open to the feedback, I think that's a detriment to your own business. At the end of the day, most people's businesses have flaws and have holes, and things aren't perfect and things can be fixed. And so the idea of having the mindset of I'm willing and open to have someone come in and critique and tell me that something is not great in the effort to, I want to fix it, I want to make it better, and I want it to evolve. And if I'm continuing to work on the business and evolving the business every day and every month, over the course of time, things are going to continue to get better. It may never be perfect, but you have to be willing to evolve your business.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. How do people find you if they want to reach out to you to learn something from you, potentially be a client of yours? Where do they go?
That's a great question. I guess it depends on the business. It's so there's several ways. My day-to-day business is well, you know what? How about it's just my cell phone is my direct line. It's 631-478-8567. That's my cell, and certainly if you want to talk about the world of stabilizing earth and embankments, erosion control, golf courses, and construction, I could absolutely have that conversation. And certainly if you want to talk about the world of our software and athletic mindset and how it's out there helping to develop youth athletes and also as a revenue driver for club sports and coaches, you can reach me there as well too.
Sure. And how do we support you? Are you guys putting content out there in the world? Are you looking to be connected with a certain type of person or a certain vertical specifically? Like, how do we bring some value back to your organizations?
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great question. Yeah, I think ultimately, as we put out content, it's always nice to have eyeballs, but I also recognize that a lot of people think that eyeballs is the end all be all, or the audience size is the end all be all. And for us, it's ultimately, can we create the right partnerships with the right clients, and can we add value to them? And if that's the case, then we want to get connected to those people. So in my day-to-day world, on the SOX erosion side, we talk with any labor-based organization, any type of construction company, erosion control contractor, lake management company, landscape company, golf course superintendent. Those are people that we talk to every single day. And we have regional technical experts around the country, and that number is growing. And we'll be at 16 or so by the end of 2026. And in the world of sports and youth sports, because that's very much my passion project, the way I really go to market is totally different than the other business. It's different funded, it's different structure. I wound up going out and partnering directly with coaches and guys that run club sports organizations or athletic directors, and we actually create rev share opportunities with those people that bring it to their organization. So the athletes get the value, the coaches get the value, and ultimately we create kind of an ecosystem around developing an athlete.
Nice. Well, we'll look for. I have someone in mind to connect you with on the sports side specifically. Remind me after this, and I'll give you kind of a rundown. But for you guys listening, The reason I love this conversation, the reason that Casey and I began talking in general, is that the emphasis on those soft and human skills and being able to apply them to different situations, I think, is so valuable. My company, we wear some different hats. You know, we sell some different stuff. We have unique solutions for people that we're working with, that's not the same for everyone else. And sometimes we need to consult with people just on, hey, take a look at what we're doing and tell us what you love and tell us what you hate. Like, that's been super
Yeah.
valuable for us, especially people that have been in like completely different industries, like completely out of the realm, don't know a whole lot about what it is that we're trying to do. And that feedback is super valuable for us. So I encourage you guys to look for some of that stuff yourself, some mentorship, some, you know, some back and forth, some data, some perspective on what it is that you're doing, because that stuff is super valuable. Down in the description, I'll link as much of the stuff as we talked about earlier below. If you want to check out Casey, some of the things that he's doing, please check out that description. And until next time, burn the ship.